Alright, hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mast, and today I thought we'd do something a little bit different. I'd thought about doing this a couple patches ago. We're going to do an actual patch notes video. I'm still going to be recording. We should still have a video later today. I've also got a Smite-related video that I've got to get up today. But I was reading through the patch notes, and I thought the patch was feeling spicy enough that I thought it was worth giving this a try, seeing what you guys think, and whether or not you'd like to see them going forward, because they're pretty easy to do, and I can just keep doing my normal thing along with it, and just kind of upload them as like a bonus thing when a patch comes out that's worth talking about. Like the small ones we won't do, but probably the every 2 weeks pretty big patches, probably worth doing if you guys are interested. So, patch notes today added a new hero to Hero Labs, Raven. Don't know what he or she does, don't know anything about him, but like I'm excited. I'm going to be playing it very, very quickly for sure. Bunch of small stuff we probably don't need to worry about too much. A little bit of art changes up here. I'll have a link to the patch notes in the description if you guys want to check out the more miscellaneous stuff. You can always pause the video and stuff too. But pretty much all of this stuff I think we're going to be skimming through. I just want to check and make sure that the one thing I want to talk about isn't up here. I haven't like gone in game yet. Added telemetry HUD options to the settings menu, which can be used to monitor the frame rate and network conditions. So that might be interesting. I don't know how good that's going to be. Learn to play tutorial images. I'd actually glossed over. That seems like it might be interesting. Obviously, I have played plenty. Hopefully, I have nothing to learn from that at this point in time. You would hope. Steam input support. Okay. So this I am potentially very excited for, because honestly, I saw this and I'm like, who at Valve has been watching the Mast videos? Who at Valve is like, wait a minute, let's hook a brother up. So this is exactly what I thought was great about ranked. And I'm very hopeful that this new option will do exactly what they're setting out to do in terms of kind of separating ranked and unranked. So added an extra competitive option to allow players to control what type of players are placed on their team. If you prefer to play with higher levels of coordination, communication, and competitiveness, then you can use this option to tell the matchmaker to build your team with like-minded allies. This option will sometimes be inactive in scenarios where the pool is very shallow. And yeah. So I think this is a great idea, especially in a pre-alpha, because it makes sense to not really be diving into ranked in a pre-alpha. Like this game is so early access right now, right? It makes sense to not have a proper ranked scene. It would make sense to literally not have ranked until it full releases. So Deadlock's in a spot where like Deadlock, when you get into Deadlock, at the very least, it is an insanely fun game. You have melee mechanics, you have shooting, you have all sorts of wacky characters, you have all sorts of insanely cool items, you have boxes that you can hit, you run down a lane, you can zip line, the movement is insane. Like there's so many things that even though it's a MOBA, Deadlock is a very fun game. You can't say that very often about MOBAs. I come from Smite. Smite is a pretty fun MOBA overall. You normally can't say that much, but naturally as you get deeper and deeper into it, people tend to get more and more competitive. You get more of that like high-level Dota players, Overwatch players, for some reason a ton of Apex players. I don't know if it's because of the movement or what. And people getting sweatier and sweatier. And you get this weird imbalance of people that love Deadlock because it's really fun. And you get people that love Deadlock because it's just a new competitive MOBA with all sorts of crazy mechanics they can try and get really good at. And both of those are super legitimate. And some people are kind of more in the middle. To some degree, I'm a little bit towards the middle, but I'm mostly here for the fun. And so this is a great idea where you can just have a casual queue and a ranked queue sort of without it technically being one or the other, and you just toggle it on and off. So if you're just trying to vibe, if you're just not in the mood to sweat, you can just turn it off. You can just not play extra competitive and you'll get a more casual game. But if you are trying to sweat, then you can toggle it on and you're more likely to get a sweatier game. So I think it's a great idea. Hopefully it actually works well. Of course, it's one of those things where it's like, how are people going to actually use it? How's the matchmaking going to work out? Like it might not go great, but I'm assuming at the very least it'll just be helpful and good. So I think it's actually a really cool change, and hopefully it works well and it lasts. And yeah, there's gonna be like actual queue options relating to this stuff, which will all be great. Help people get what they're looking for. And then they also did a little bit of a change for really high ranked players where they'd kind of reverted some of the party size changes, because basically it's just too hard to get good matchmaking quality when you're all the way in Eternus. There are so few Eternus players. And then also made it so that it's trying to matchmake frontliners into games a little more so, which is a great change, because I definitely have games sometimes where it's like, okay, we have like 5.5 backliners and they have 3 frontliners, and like we're just gonna lose. If we didn't snowball like crazy, we're just gonna lose. We just get team comp diffed. It's something it's a pre-alpha, right? It's gonna happen, stuff like that. We don't have a proper draft or anything. So doing something in the meantime to try and keep that from being too much of a problem is a really good change. Because it does suck to just get comp diffed when you can't choose your comp, right? Like you're just queued up for heroes and then like you're going to get something mishmashed together. Pretty big changes. Ability range stat now has diminishing stacking. Ability duration has diminishing stacking. And fire rate has a minimum value of minus 50%. So basically you cannot get like nerfed down to like 0% fire rate or something like that where you just can't shoot bullets. I don't think anybody's managed to go that hard with it, but like I'm sure you could get at least close. I think hypothetically you probably could do this, and it's just not really something that gets seen. But yeah, basically just trying to make fire rate more consistent. But this is a big one. I don't think the ability duration one matters that much. There aren't too many things that affect ability duration. Ability range is a big one. Poor Viscous, man. The goo ball had gotten so big. The goo ball had finally gotten so big, and they had to hit him with this. I think really the biggest thing that's made it stand out, ironically, is not the recent goo ball changes where you can now become giant ball. It's Dynamo Ult, man. They added in Arcane Surge, which you can basically dash jump for 20% ability range, and then you can go improved reach, and you can maybe go a little bit of other stuff, but those are mostly going to be the two things, and this is going to make it not quite as effective, because oh my god, the Dynamo Ults are getting ridiculous. This is really interesting changes right here. Heroes now inherently just have 0.5 extra sprint. This is the first time I've seen them do this that I can remember, so that's interesting that they want people to be speedier, but in return, they're taking away some of the sprint speed off boots / enduring speed, to make it so that people are generally a little faster out of combat, but then when they're buying their boots, they're not faster compared to before out of combat. So it's like you're still, if you have boots, getting the same sprint speed. But the really big thing kind of related to it here is carrying urn sets and limits move speed to 13, does not provide sprint. The speed cannot be reduced or increased. Such an interesting change. So you just have an urn move speed now. You can't be slowed. You can't be speed boosted. It even specifically says this includes things like IV airdrops. You can't fly at extra speed across the map. Now, Magician, Magician's not going to be in patch notes because Magician's a Hero Labs hero. If Magician didn't get a change, Magician should still be able to teleport across the entire map with Urn. But Magician's super early access Hero Labs. That doesn't mean too much. So aside from crazy cheese, the Urn is going to be a lot more consistent, and that includes their alternating spawn points rather than it being random, which I think should be a very good change. If you're trying to be sweaty or pay more attention to Urn and playing it as a proper objective, now you can just straight up be, okay, last Urn, like I'm assuming like it'll spawn at some random one to start. But then after that, it's like, okay, it spawned right for first Urn. It's going to spawn left for second Urn. Let's get ready to take Urn type stuff. So it'll be better for coordinated play. Should just be better thing, right? Better than random. This is hopefully a really nice change. I'm assuming the hitboxes are still buggy. If you guys have ever tried to shoot troopers off of the zip line and been like, I definitely shot that, why did it not fall? It's basically laggy. I don't know how much ping matters for it, but like the actual trooper hitbox on the zip doesn't match the actual box thing, so you have to shoot behind it. And then it's still kind of inconsistent with that though. So now it should at least get easier, where if you shoot one, it's just going to drop the others. That should be nice. And then flying over buildings no longer causes you to get zapped, but if you stand on the building, you do get zapped. Flying got dumpstered in this patch, so this is like a little win. Get ready for the massive L if you're a Vindicta enjoyer or a Grey Talon enjoyer. Oh my god, you are going to get wrecked. I am genuinely sorry, because I don't enjoy either, but I'm like, guys, no way they need to get hit this hard. That is crazy. But we'll get to that. So patron changes, pretty interesting here. They're adding scaling health to patron, but nerfing early patron health. So patron and downed patron HP got reduced by quite a bit to start. So this is going down by 25%. This is going down by, I think, also also by 25%. But then also patron HP grows by 250 per minute starting at 20 minutes, and downed patron HP grows by 450 a minute starting at 20 minutes. Oh, I literally did the math. I didn't even have to do the math, man. I'm out of school. It's good for me to practice. I never do that shit anymore. It's good. I don't know. I guess actually I play games. I guess I do. I get a little math value playing MOBAs, having to build and think about numbies. But yeah, basically patron's going to get tankier as you get deep in the game. It's going to be squishier in the earlier stages of the game. So if you're actually getting a full-on base siege early on, you have more of an opportunity to properly end. If you're deep in the game, it's not going to be quite so absurdly squishy because it can get ended very fast. So this should just be a good change. This is an interesting one. I think Deadlock's in a little bit of a weird spot where I'm assuming Dota players really like the lack of forgiveness in Dota. I haven't played Dota. I'm just somewhat familiar with some of the things in Dota. And the vibe I've always gotten, and it seems like we've kind of somewhat gone away from this in Deadlock, is Dota is very punishing when it comes to farm. That in Dota, you can just straight up, you can eat your own minions so that they don't get them. You can yoink their minions and stuff. Like, it plays like crazy intensive around farm. And Deadlock's trying to be a little forgiving, and I don't know if that's going to stay or if that's like a pre-alpha thing where they're trying to be more forgiving for players in the moment. But this is something that's kind of more extreme than anything they've done before, even though it seems subtle, which is a tick-based soul system to the bottom 2 net worth players on the team, where they actually get fed a small amount of souls per second. The amount of souls available to distribute to the bottom 2 players is based on the souls gathered by your team, 2% and 1%, and this will only occur after the laning phase. So if somebody is getting dumpstered, if they're feeding their brains out, I guess they don't even need to be getting dumpstered. Sometimes this will be really subtle where you're like barely bottom farm, but there are games where it's like maybe your team is at 7k, 8k souls and you're down at 5k souls. Things have gone wrong. This should be a pretty nice drip. I haven't bothered running the numbers on it yet, but like this should be a pretty nice little drip feed for you. But I'm not sure how people are going to feel about it overall. I don't really care. I mean, I come from Smite. Smite is so much more forgiving than Deadlock. So like I see something like this, I'm like, all right. But I'm sure some people that are more competitive about it will be like, oh, you're spoon feeding the noobs. So I don't know. We'll see how it feels. I think it's probably going to feel subtle enough that it's not going to be a big deal. And it'll probably make games feel more consistent. And it's just the question of how much do you care about the competitiveness of making it more consistent when you've like owned somebody for 10 minutes or something like that. But added a new limiting function for soul orb duplication. If you guys aren't sweats, you probably don't know about this, or at least if you don't follow sweats, this isn't something I've done in videos. It's something that became mostly, it wasn't that common even in like ranked and shit, man. Like very high level ranked, it got a little more common for a little while. It mostly was like literal competitive play type stuff. But you can, or at least you could, duplicate soul orbs to different degrees over different patches, and for a while Valve has been trying to sort it out, and it seems to me reading this like this is one where it's like, okay, now it is just simply assuming this just, there's nothing more to it, this should just work the way that they want it to work, and they should be fixing this basically. So what you could do at different points in time, and it's kind of varied because they've been trying to like change it, rework it, stuff like that. Early game, you could clear your wave fast and then go run over to a different lane, run over to a solo lane, I should say, and soak up some of the farm there. And then that person would, generally speaking, depending on the patch, get their full farm. And then you would also get the full farm because it would just treat it like a dual lane. And early on, if you're in a solo lane, you get 300 souls per wave. If you're in a dual lane, you get 300 souls per wave. So you could get the 300 from yours, go over to solo, get ideally, hypothetically, the 300 from theirs. You don't necessarily get all of them in time, especially recently when the minions have been dying faster. And so you could just come back to your dual lane with 600 souls and then keep doing that. And then you could literally double people's farm. And that was dumb. It wasn't skillful. It was just like, it's a little bit skillful, but it's mostly like min-maxing high mobility characters and builds and just running back and forth really fast. It was really dumb. So this seems like a big fix for it, where what they're doing is you can only participate in 4 soul orb shares per wave, and then you're declared low priority, and then it's saying when you're low priority, it will split normally with any waves that you're sharing. So now you would be punishing the person in that solo lane if you're going over and sapping, where you're getting an actual split, even though it's early game, which wouldn't normally be happening in those situations. So it seems like it should be a good fix, and that means that if you're ganking and you're splitting a wave, then they're not getting as, like, that 2v1 is not getting as much farm, or at least it's getting split between you. So you need to actually have impact there, otherwise you're just trolling your solo laner, right? So it's still something that you can do, but you're not gonna just inherently get bonus farm, and it's just, you should just do it and not even try and PvP or anything. So other than that, I'm assuming these changes were meant to be somewhat related to that. Maybe they were making these anyways, but it makes sense that they might have made these changes because of soul splitting. And if so, I think this is great, because I have not been a big fan of these changes, which is Guardians were doing more damage to troopers. Guardians were taking more damage from troopers. That one I didn't mind as much. I didn't feel like Guardians were going down too fast to minions. The range to be considered for souls reduced by 5 meters, and troopers doing more damage to each other. This was the biggest one that I really didn't like. It felt like troopers were too easily, I think we talked about this in the Giest video that I just uploaded, right? Where it's like, oh my God, can my minions not instantly die on me, man? Can they not instantly kill each other to RNG? It's less likely this will happen now. You have more time to work with stuff. So I am assuming based on these changes, these were actually related to soul splitting, which I didn't realize. I thought they were just making these changes. So yeah, a bunch of reverts happened related to that. So now minions will just generally do less damage, take less damage from each other, like PvE related, and that applies to Guardians as well. So I think that'll be good. Minion waves should feel more consistent and more focused on you clearing them rather than them killing themselves, right? So lots of small weapon changes we probably don't need to talk about. Most of these, you get a ton of these each patch. If you care about them enough, you can look at them. These are all subtle, just rebalance stuff. Things are getting nerfed, things are getting buffed based on how they're feeling. Resto Shot getting kind of dumpstered in terms of damage, a whole 3%, goddamn. But one thing that is worth noting is Berserker now builds into Frenzy, which makes a ton of sense. Frenzy very much feels like a tier 4 Berserker. One thing I actually want to put out there, you guys, anybody still watching, you can comment in on this and let me know what you think. I actually specifically reading this kind of was thinking about it extra. I've thought about it in general. Boundless Spirit especially has had me thinking about this recently. What do you guys think about the idea of upgrade items where like it's pretty normal to have a tier 1 that upgrades into a tier 2 or a tier 3 or a tier 2 that upgrades into a tier 4. Those are they're a decent amount of those throughout the game. But when you get those, the way that it works is you spend the money on whatever the first tier of item is, and then you spend the regular amount of money you would for the extra tier of item, and then kind of get diminishing returns on the value of that item. Like for example, extra spirit, 500 souls, improved spirit, 3,500 souls. You buy the 500 and then you still spend the full 3K like you normally would for a tier 3 to upgrade it to the 3,500 version. And then for Boundless Spirit, you still spend the entire 6,200 that you would for a tier 4 and go to a total 9,800 souls spent for a tier 4 item. What would you guys think of the idea of making it so that they always keep their tier 3, tier 4, whatever price point, and you're actually getting less money spent between those tiers? So if I'm upgrading from Improved Spirit to Boundless Spirit, I would be going from 3,500 souls, or I guess 3,000 souls spent to 6,200 souls spent. So instead of it being an entire 6,200 souls, it would only cost me 3,200 souls to upgrade from tier 3 to tier 4. And then of course, like stat balances, like they'd have to rebalance stats with that, of course, because that'd be a big change to, specifically Boundless Spirit, that'd be an insane change. You'd be taking away 3,000 souls off the price point. So I'm sure it would need a nerf. But I'm curious, what do you guys think about that? Because to me, that's the way that it makes more sense. I feel like it's kind of awkward where sometimes when they're making these changes, like the recent change where slowing bullets got worked into Glass Cannon, the extra slow now on Glass Cannon feels really nice, but it always feels funky when some of these items, you don't really care about those changes and you're caring about other stats. And now it's just a more expensive tier 4 item compared to the others. And it just feels kind of bad. So I feel like it makes more sense to go buy the first version of it and then get a cheaper upgrade into it. And then you kind of get that extra value of you've like planned this out in advance. You've like worked it out in advance that you're going to go tier 2 into tier 4 instead of it still being a massive price point going forward. I thought I'd throw that out there. I think I'd prefer it a little that way, but I'm curious if people disagree or if people agree with me and are like, yeah, that'd be dope. But again, obviously anything losing souls, like where it's now cheaper to buy, of course would need to get nerfed to make up for that. Assuming they're in a balanced state, that is. Anyways, going forward, these are all just small nerfs, small changes again. Spellslinger Headshots gets a little bit of an interesting change here. This item sucks. We have not built it in a video yet because it is so bad. This is an upgrade to Soul Shredder bullets. I don't think the passive is bad. The main problem with this is you get almost no stat gain out of upgrading to Spellslinger Headshots. And this does actually tie into what I was just saying. You're spending an entire extra 3K to upgrade from tier 2 to tier 3. Not the, if it was only 1750 souls, that'd be a lot more like, oh, maybe I should do this. You barely get more stats on the item. And then the big thing that you got was when you get a headshot once every 1.2 seconds, stacking up to 12 times, you'd get 3% more spirit power. And then that would fall off over 12 seconds or something like that. So if you're in a team fight and you are constantly headshotting people for a long period of time, you could hypothetically get all the way up to 36% bonus spirit power. But none of that was flat either. So you needed like Boundless Spirit, maybe Spiritual Overflow. Like you needed Spirit in the build to scale. And then to stack the shit out of it to make this any good because the stats on it weren't good. So this item was terrible. They changed it from 3% power to 3% amp. So this is now going to apply to base damage, which makes it significantly better. Like if you hypothetically somehow stack this fully on Lash, rather than just getting a little extra scaling for yourself, like Lash base damage alone on like his slam would get a massive buff if you somehow fully stack this and then hit a Giga Slam. So that's still a big buff. It's still probably going to overall be bad, but that's a pretty big change for it where maybe it's like actually a realistic item to buy on certain people now. Maybe you could make it work. Probably a great example would be Haze Bullet Dance. This is now way better. This now is going to stand out a lot. Is probably one of the more specific characters where she can actually stack the headshots and then use that spirit amp a lot better than spirit power. But moving on from that, another big one is Sharpshooter's got an interesting change here. I actually don't know if this will feel good, but I like the direction they're going with it. I think it's a cool direction. I just don't know if it's actually going to feel good for the item, which is Sharpshooter reduces your fire rate and your move speed by 10% and by 0.5. And this is move speed, not sprint speed. This is This is noticeable. Enduring speed gives you 1.1 move speed. This takes away half of that. And then reducing fire rate by 10%. Fire rate is hard to come by for the most part. Normally you are getting otherwise potato statted items when you're getting a fire rate item, like Swift Strike, like Burst Fire. Like the reason you buy them is just straight up fire rate. So this is a pretty big hit, even though it's 10%. And then weapon damage goes up by 10% on the item, so just the consistent weapon damage, and the actual like long range, which really isn't very long range, weapon damage goes up by 20%. So 30% total, assuming you're actually proccing the passive, but you're losing 10% fire rate. So it's an interesting change. I think hypothetically, on average, this should almost always be more DPS. You'd have to have like a funky build going where you have insane weapon damage and no fire rate built in to not up your DPS, assuming you're getting both of these. But also it's going to feel kind of bad. So it's an interesting change. I'm kind of excited to try it out a little bit and see how noticeable it is, because you're going to be swinging right now. It's just you'll be shooting a little slower as well. But those bullets will slam. So here's the big thing. Frenzy, now building from Berserker, grants Berserker passive and buffs Berserker passive, and they did restat the actual Frenzy itself a little bit. Otherwise, this would be unbelievably broken. I think it'll still feel very strong, but it would have been so broken. And it's so tragic they did this the day after I play Geist, because Berserker is so good on Geist. You're literally self-damaging yourself to proc Berserker passive. It's probably better on Geist than any character. Abrams is also really good with it. Those are probably like easy top 2 for Berserker. But yeah, increases bonus per stack from 6% to 8%. So that's every 100 damage you take over the past 10 seconds, stacking up to 10 times, you could get 6, and now it's 8%, which means if you take 1,000 damage over those 10 seconds, it doesn't have to be over 10, but like keep generating those stacks up to 1,000 damage, then you can get 80% bonus weapon damage on this tier 4 item. It still provides the plus 12 ammo. They nerfed the health. I believe this was 300 health. It's now only 150. And then they took away the 30% weapon damage that it came with, and then also added plus 10% bullet resist. So instead of what was consistent 30%, assuming you proc this well enough, you can now get up to 80% weapon damage off of Frenzy. And then its regular under 50% health passive is still the same. So that's kind of wild. If you are proccing Frenzy well, it is going to really chunk. It's going to be pretty ridiculous. Interesting change to Crippling Headshot. I can't tell for sure if I'm misunderstanding this. I think what they're saying is if multiple people have Crippling Headshot and are stacking it together, so if you have 3 different gun heroes building it and they each headshot somebody, you can now get the 24% and a 12% and a 6% debuff, which would overall be a 42% spirit and bullet resist debuff, which is crazy. Again, it's diminishing return, so it's not super broken, but that's pretty interesting for Crippling Headshot passive. I'm assuming I'm not misinterpreting it, and that's what they're saying. Because if it's for some reason, like it says different sources, so I really don't think they're saying if you hit multiple bullets in a row. Otherwise, that'd be broken. I feel like no way, if you just triple headshot and you get 42%, that's going to be dumb, but I don't think that's what they mean. Shadow Weave yet again has a longer spot radius. It is just harder and harder to stay invis with this item. It's okay. The item's cringe. I build it too, so it's like it's not even me. It's just let's just be real. Let's just be honest. It's a cringe item. Silencer not going to be quite as easy to proc now. Silencer recently got reworked in the last big patch, and it's been feeling specifically on Haze. Like nobody buys it except on Haze. Let's be real. On Hazel, it's been feeling very strong because it's just auto procking. So it's going to auto proc a little bit slower now. And then a bunch of small changes, and Return Fire has a good one, which is Return Fire now matches more with extra regen, which they recently made it upgrade out of. So before it was just an item that you'd buy, and now it's extra regen upgrades into Return Fire. So they took away the spirit power and they gave it the extra regen stats of 3 HP regen and 10% ammo. So now this stays a regen item when you upgrade it, which is much better. So that's really good. Veil Walker got a decent nerf. The big one being the way the invis works when you're taking damage. So when shot while invisible, it takes an entire second to go back to being invisible rather than 0.25 seconds. It was kind of silly how, especially on like low fire rate or like ability-based characters that aren't shooting as much, you could run into somebody with Veil Walker, hit them, and they'd like invis almost instantly after you hit them. So that's going to be slower now. And the cooldown got increased as well, so it's harder to just spam cheese it. Majestic Leap, I didn't even know this is a bug right now. I haven't been buying this item because it's so hard nerfed at the moment, but no longer gets interrupted on slam down if you get shot. That's probably nice. Metal Skin lasts a little longer, but doesn't get a dash as far. So that's kind of interesting. They've already done something recently where you're slower when you pop Metal Skin. So now you also don't dash as far when you pop Metal Skin, but it does last a little longer for you. Debuff Remover recently got this change to give you 10% max HP back when you pop the buff. Or not when you pop the buff, when you pop the active, and it now gives you a flat 300, which is going to be crazy strong. So debuff remover getting more relevant. Leech, another one that is now an upgrade item similar to Frenzy. So it upgrades from Healbane, which might sound weird at first thought because it's not a lifesteal item. But they're giving it this plus 60% anti-heal for 8 seconds on spirit damage dealt. This shit is going to get hard nerfed, man. This is going to get hard. This is so broken. Giest is getting insane buffs this patch, and I can't believe they just had to drop it a day late so I didn't get to play with them. If they dropped patch on a normal day, the Giest video yesterday, we could have been so giga buffed. We could have been feeling so good. And also, they took the cooldown off of Leech, to be fair, so it's, you know, there's a little bit of a trade-off here. But this is crazy. 60% anti-heal for 8 seconds on spirit damage. There are plenty of people that'll proc this well, but specifically on Lady Giest, she is going to be a monster for stopping healing now because she was already good at proccing Healbane. So the fact that Leech is an incredible item on her, the fact that she can go Healbane, which is good on her, and then go into Leech on its own, and then get the biggest anti-heal item in the game, this is so consistent. You don't have to stack it like Toxic Bullets to get it to proc. You can AoE it. It lasts 8 whole seconds. It's just on damage dealt. That is so crazy. So Leech potentially going to be really, really good as an anti-heal item now. Other changes worth noting. We don't really need the rapid recharge one's subtle. Ethereal shift. I don't know exactly how this is going to work based on how they worded it, but it allows you to float around slowly. I'm assuming this basically means you can like trudge around while you're in ethereal shift. You get a really small amount of move speed to like walk around, which I think is probably fine compared to the route. It'll probably be a little more satisfying. This is the big one that I'm curious about. I want to play with this immediately. Silence Glyph, which they recently made. Is this the first active item like it? Because the others are like AoEs. Like Alchemical Fire, you just shoot shit onto the ground and it just kind of splashes an area. They recently made Silence Glyph like a projectile that you shoot, so you could miss it instead of locking on the way that like Slowing Hex does and other items like that. Withering Whip does. But now it pierces all enemies in the path. And projectile and collision size got increased by a ton to make it more consistent, which I wasn't buying Silence Glyph. So I don't know if these were feeling smaller, if they just wanted to make it like a lot bigger so it's easier to land. This I immediately want to play with because, oh my God, man, if we are Silence Glyphing 2 to 3 people, that is insane impact. Silence Glyph's already really strong and honestly really underrated a lot of the time. So many people buy Knockdown, so few people buy Silence Glyph, at least at the moment. The fact that you can now AoE this is crazy. To be fair, I think people are building less Silence Glyph at the moment because it doesn't lock on. And now we can move forward. It is probably worth noting out of the nerfs, it is worth noting Arcane Surge is getting a bit of a nerf. This item's been, on a lot of people, it's not very good, but on the people where it is good, it's insane, like Dynamo. So it is getting a bit of a nerf, which should not come as a big surprise. But the big one that I had talked about earlier on, Knockdown stun duration reduced by a little bit, but will now last a second longer against airborne targets based on how high off the ground they are, up to 30 meters. So if Vindicta is flying around, and she is flying at a decent height, and she gets knocked down, she will get knocked down for 1.75 seconds. And that is an auto-lock item that has a cast range of, I believe, about 60 meters, which is incredibly far, much farther than the other actives. Vindicta has just been absolutely thrown into the dumpster, and then like actually put into the garbage truck, and then taken to the dump. Not even taken to the dump. Taken to a what's the shit? The yards where they just like break down cars and smash them into a tiny ball. They get like wallied. That's what's happening to Vindicta right now. And as long, never mind. I was gonna keep going with it. We'll stop there. I've already gone long enough. But like Vindicta just got absolutely destroyed. Grey Talon to a lesser degree, but still quite a bit. Like anybody in the air flying, get fucked, bozo. I'm also now realizing Lash just got shit on, so that's not cool because it's airborne targets, not flying targets. Fuck you guys. You can't be nerfing the king. You cannot be doing this to him. I think those are the people that'll stand out. I don't think anybody else will stand out unless I'm just totally forgetting. Maybe a little bit Pocket. Maybe a little bit Pocket when you're like trying to get up high and then do like a moving one. Those are probably the only ones. I don't know. There might be more. But yeah, that's going to be a big buff to Knockdown, which was already incredibly strong. At least in terms of its original intention of knocking down flying targets. It will get a little bit of a nerf when you're not knocking down those airborne or flying targets. Little bit of an interesting change here. They made the delay logger on Refresher. This will overall be like fairly unnoticeable, but I actually really like this change where Refresher was pretty easy to proc very quickly to get an instant second ult, and now it'll be a little harder. I think that's a cool little subtle change. So other than that, I haven't looked at all of these. I've looked at almost all of these. I'm trying to see what are the hero changes specifically worth talking about that stood out. That's right. I saw the Gray Talon one. I was like, this is now a patch that is truly worth talking about. Yeah, these are all decent changes and stuff, and I'm not going to bother talking about them all. It is worth noting that Dynamo is getting a decent nerf to ult cooldown. Dynamo ult is so strong at the moment. So that will stand out for sure. But this is a big one. Gray Talon is getting a partial rework, which he already got recently, and I don't know what they were cooking when they did it, where they made Gray Talon 3 a tether, which took a already overall bad ability. I don't know if I somehow was missing out on something. I had never in my life, and I'm in Ascendant. I'm not like absolute peak or Eternus, but I am pretty close. I'm in Ascendant. I have been since Ranked came out. Gray Talon 3 has never been a strong ability. Like, you do get situations where it's like, oh shit, it's really strong, but it's just so inconsistent because of the arm time. So they had taken this straight up root and then made it a tether. It's like, wait, why did you take the bad ability and then make it worse and make it less unique? Because there are like no roots in the game, but there was already a tether on Vindicta. So they are straight up reworking that entirely, and it now applies Curse. In Curse, we don't buy it much on the channel, so if you guys are out of the loop, if you're playing the game much, you should know by now, but if you're out of the loop, Curse is a get fucked button. Curse will interrupt anything you are casting. You will not be able to cast abilities while you are cursed. You cannot auto attack. Is that it? And you can't cast items. Like, it's like extra big silence and an interrupt and a disarm all in one. Now normal curse lasts, I think 3.5 seconds, 3.25 seconds, something like that. This is going to last 1.75 seconds, which is still quite a bit. And it is going to still, the trap has to proc, and I am assuming they aren't saying anything otherwise. I am assuming there is still the same arm time on the trap as before. So you can't just land a trap as if it's like a Vindicta one and then curse them for almost 2 seconds. That would be so broken. And it's doing that instead of a tether and instead of a root. And then tier 2, it no longer increases the slow by a second, and it now increases the curse debuff by 0.5 seconds. So we're making that 2.25 seconds of curse. And you can now shoot charge shot onto Spirit Snare Center to trigger it and detonate immediately in a 30% increased radius. That is wild. So you are expanding the range of the 3 and popping it on command. Now, charge shot has a delay. Charge shot has, literally it's in the name, right? Charge shot. So you got to charge it up, you got to shoot it. But you can also do it fairly quick. So it'll be interesting to see how strong this is as a quick throw the 3 on them, try and quickly one it and pop that curse. And then also when you do that, it's not saying, like, I'm assuming that this charge shot does not do damage if you don't hit the actual hero with it. If like the trap is not going to do its own like charge shot damage from proccing like this. So that means you're giving up charge shot damage in most circumstances to proc that. It's an interesting change for Gray Talon. It's definitely kind of spicy. And then also proccing or securing orbs with charge shot is interesting. It's normally going to be terrible, but for like a convenience thing where it just happens to work out, this is really nice. Just a little quality of life buff. From here, I have not read all of these, so I got to do a little skimming. I won't read every single thing, because it's just not worth reading every single thing out loud. Like, that's going to make it take a lot longer, right? Fixation tier 3 getting nerfed is a great change because Haze feels really disgusting right now. Sleep state no longer disables the target, instead allows them to move at 2 meters a second and be unable to take any other action. You're telling me they sleepwalk? You're telling me they sleepwalk in sleep state right now? Why are you forcing this on me, man? I don't know, maybe sleepwalking is not terrifying. I'm assuming sleepwalking sucks a little bit. I had a brief stint with sleep paralysis when I was around 15, and to this day, I've gone through a little bit of worse shit since, but it's one of the most terrifying things I've ever been through. The first time it happened, it's probably the most terrifying thing I've ever been through. I don't know. It's real. I shouldn't even be talking about this. I just thought it was kind of related to sleepwalking. Sleep paralysis is no joke, man. It's scary as hell. I don't think it's actually dangerous, but it's scary as hell when you're not expecting it. Big Treep, sometimes attacking and waking up sleeping targets. Oh, that is huge. That is so huge. Sleep Dagger now takes effect immediately rather than after a brief delay. Oh, that is big. So that means the wake up time is now going to be more consistent. There's something that's a little bit weird for Haze Sleep Dagger where you can sleep them, shoot a little bit, and then that includes other people on your team, shoot a little bit, and then the sleep proc's a little bit late, so you don't actually wake them up immediately, so you get more CC value and then can still reposition. So now you got to be more focused on this. You get a little less, it's a little less noob friendly now, and it's generally just a nerf to it. That's a really good change, because this was kind of dumb. And this is coming from Double Dagger Haze Enjoyer before it was a thing. Like, this was dumb, and it's part of why Double Dagger Haze is good, is you can cheese this a little bit. It was so dumb. And then other than that, just kind of subtle changes. Fixed an issue causing the game to freeze for the duration of the ult. Yeah, that's probably good. Flame Dash cooldown reduced. Dash tier 3 reduced as well to kind of match up with that. Dash tier 3 makes the ability charged? Oh my god. Oh, we are playing Inferus, baby! And they upped his spirit scaling on Afterburn by an entire 20%. It was 0.5, it's now 0.6. Oh, we are playing Inferus. That is crazy. So for a while, Inferus has been in a spot where getting tier 2 dash is very strong if you want to play with dash aggressively. You get insane damage out of it. It's actually stupid, especially depending on the matchup if they can't get out of it very well. So the tier 3 cooldown is going to still be similar, where once you get it upgraded, it's going to be a 20-second cooldown like it would have been approximately before if you got tier 3 flame dash. But the charge means you can now go rapid, not only extra charge, but rapid recharge on Inferus, and you can get extra 1s and extra 2s. And with that extra 2, you should be able to cast it on, at least without other cooldown reduction, like a 6-7 second cooldown, which is insane. And I am assuming, I don't know for sure, but I can't remember any other ability in the game that doesn't do this. With Deadlock, ability cooldowns go on cooldown when cast, not like after the channel is finished. So if Inferus Flame Dash lasts, I think 3 or 4 seconds, then after that, it might only be 3 or 4 seconds until you can do another one. And then you can go like superior cooldown on it and make it like no seconds and just flame dash around the map, man. You can just set an entire lane on fire. Like, that is... that is some cheese. I'm gonna make it dumb. I'm gonna make them remove that. I'm gonna cheese the shit out of it immediately. But I think I don't know, it's a spicy change. We'll see. We'll see if it doesn't feel super broken. Otherwise, rapid recharge was cheeks, to be fair. So he is gonna be spending, if you go for that cheese, you're definitely gonna be spending a lot of extra souls to make it happen. Extra charge was still pretty good though. Other than that, looking like pretty subtle stuff. IV melees are now less broken. That's probably good. IV melees were hitting so hard. I didn't actually check the damage, but I was getting so chunked by melee IVs a little while ago. So I am assuming this was legitimately kind of dumb. It was actually ridiculous, man. Yeah, looking like most of these are just pretty subtle little fixes and stuff. You can now choose to significantly reduce initial upward momentum on flight, which is probably pretty nice. And then Frost Grenade reduces stamina regen. It doesn't say by how much. This could be really big. I don't know if this isn't a very big nerf, then it doesn't mean too much, but this is a cool change where it's making the slow feel like more of a slow. They've been doing this continually lately where they've been trying to do stuff to make stamina regen more of a factor in the game, where stamina is less consistent and you can actually like nerf it, which is cool. Frozen Shelter now created on key up. While the key is down, an outline. Oh, okay. So like when you press the key and then it comes back up. That's interesting. They have that much control over shit. I didn't even know that was in the game, that they could do key down versus key up. That's weird. Okay. While the key is down, an outline of the area will be shown. Is that even, that's just like quick cast versus instant cast versus confirm cast, right? And they're just making it instant cast by default and they wrote it this way to mess with my head? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's somehow actually a different thing than that. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like they made it quick cast by default instead of instant cast by default, which was probably a good change. But I don't know, maybe this is somehow not actually those, even though it sounds exactly like those. Malice can now secure orbs for Giest. Soul Exchange tier 2 changed to fire rate. Oh, wait. And then, oh, that is a crate. We really missed out on Giest, man. Oh, we really missed out on Giest. You have got it. They gave her all of these items and they did this. You have got to be kidding me. So Soul Exchange no longer is capable of splitting health as much. Before it would automatically be, the biggest swap you could get was 30% of your health going over to them. And now it's, it was 30% and then it could go down to 20% if you got the tier 2. Now it's going to stay at that 30%, but you get the fire rate that you got as part of your ultimate before. At absolute max rank, which should always be like any Geist build, this should always be the very last thing you'd get with Soul Exchange tier 3. It should be super late in the game because it's just so inconsistent that you're ulting. It's really not that crazy. But 40% fire rate earlier in the game can be really strong, especially on a gun Geist build. And then the tier 3 now getting silences enemies in 15-meter radius. 15 meters, man. That's like close quarters slash like long range. Like that area around you, that AoE, it will silence all enemies for 3 seconds. That is crazy because now it's giving Giest ult a purpose where instead of it just being a swap, it is now also a CC and it has some value. Now do keep in mind, silence is not an interrupt. So if they're actively channeling something, it's not going to break it. That's really, really strong as a way to like peel for yourself or just make it harder for them to fight in general. And then life drain duration increased by a decent chunk, 25%. And life drain tier 3 changed from enemy as silence to ability becomes charge and gains a charge. You can cast multiple life drains at the same time on different targets with no charge time. What? Bro, last video, I was like, damn, I wish Giest got some stuff. Ooh, they gave her some stuff. And this is huge because one of the big reasons I was saying Spirit Giest is not good, that focusing too heavily on Spirit Giest is not good, the early game problems still remain. That's still a problem for it, where if you go lots of Spirit early game, you literally kill yourself and it's just not worth it. Like you do deal that damage back, but instead you can do gun damage, which does similar damage, and you don't kill yourself for doing it. And then you go Spirit damage later in the game once you have Spirit armor and you have lifesteal online. But early game, of course, you're like fighting for slots, right? Fighting for what to spend your souls on. But one of the things that made Spirit Giest a lot worse is that her highest scaling ability was the 2, which had a 30-second cooldown, was the hardest to land. It's weird to say land because it's an auto lock, but like it has limited range compared to the 3 and the 1. It's not as AoE as the 3 or the 1. They can go behind walls and stuff. Like it's a lot more limited functionality compared to the 3 and 1, which are a lot more consistent. But that ability has... Let's see, I'm trying to think, especially after the change, it should have around 3 total spirit scaling if you land an entire life drain on somebody, like 3 times spirit power. So now you have charges and you can potentially cast multiple at the same time. So you can be like AoEing a total at once of like 9 times your spirit power, not all on the same person, but on different people. That is a massive buff to going actual spirit power on Giest and making like spiritual overflow, boundless spirit, surge of power, maybe even, probably not quite surge of power, but like those items just got so much more value. That is such a big deal for her. So these are really cool changes. Especially the silence felt especially inconsistent with their ability to go behind walls. The fact that they could just break the silence the way that they can normally break Giest too. So I think this is an extra interesting change with that in mind, where I feel like it should feel more consistent as an ability because there's going to be less of that demand to break the CC and more of a demand to break the damage, which was just already part of the ability, right? So, and that Lash getting buffs? Really? Are you sure? I mean, they did farm him with Knockdown, so this is looking pretty based. Oh my god, what? Okay, so basically like cooldown changes. This is a slight nerf, this is a slight buff. Makes it now a little easier to channel his ultimate. He has a little more time in it, assuming, you know, that he wants that extra time. A lot of the time you're not channeling the full duration ult, but now you have it if you need it. Impact, wait. 2.3 seconds. Now I'm getting, do you only sit in the air for 2.3 seconds? I think you have to. I think you have to, because like in my head, there's no way it takes an entire 2 seconds to like get the pull on somebody. So this has to be the duration and not the time to get somebody pulled, right? I'm pretty sure. No way that lasts 2 seconds. It's not that hard to lash hold people. Impact radius gets increased. Cone angle increased, so it's easier to land the ult. That's a pretty big one. Range increased. But then Death Slam T2 changed from plus 100 damage, which is pretty cheeks. Lash ult is not about damage, it's about the CC, to minus 30-second cooldown, and then took away the entire minus 56-second cooldown on tier 3 and gave it a 1-second impact area stun. And with the way they're wording this, I am assuming that this 1-second impact area stun is not just a stun on whoever you throw, but if you throw them at somebody, you now CC that person. And that is sick. That is so cool. We might have to hop into a little offline real quick at the end of this because we're probably almost done with the video and go test that to confirm. That is so fucking cool, assuming that's the way I think it is. So if you fully upgrade Lash ult, you'll no longer get quite as much cooldown. That's okay. This cooldown was actually more than it needed to be. It was ridiculous. It was so much cooldown. The awkward part was how many ability points you had to invest into it. And Lash is a character where you really want to max the 3, you really want to get 2 points in the 2, and you really want to max the 1. So there are so many points that feel like they almost need to be spent for value on those abilities. And it felt really bad to max the ult because you're just an ult bot if you're maxing the ult. You lose so much other value. So now you can get a lot more consistent value out of at least the first 2 points by getting that cooldown instead. And then this should be sick if you do want to go into ult bot instead of just spamming ult that extra hard. So moving on from that, this is probably a good change. No longer limit the damage they take to 33% of HP per second on mini turrets. This felt really bad. They now have a minimum lifetime of 4 seconds. If they are killed during this time, they will be marked for death regardless of what happens during that time. What? There will be a visual indication that they are malfunctioning / dying. Oh, so it's still going to feel bad, but at least the appearance will be cleaner and you understand what's happening. I'll take it. So basically there was, I think this ended up being a 3-second lifetime. If you were shooting mini turret, it could not eat as much DPS as you were capable of dishing out. It would just slowly basically bleed out and die. So now it'll still automatically live even longer than that change that they recently gave it, but it'll be like, it'll get this broken type indicator when that happens. So you know you can stop shooting. And they're also nerfing the fire rate by a stupid amount. I don't think Valve knows what they're doing with McGinnis right now, man. Like, I don't know how much I hate this, but it's weird. But like, it's weird. And it seems like they still shoot during this time. Yeah, I don't know, man. And then they're nerfing the damage. I don't know. McGinnis feels like she's in such a weird spot right now. I honestly felt like McGinnis, before people started cooking too much, and maybe it was from buffs that had come. When I started playing, I thought McGinnis was like, damn, they really cooked with her. She's an interesting, unique character. And now it's like, guys, what is this? Can we go back to OG McGinnis? Can we just put her back? Can we fix her? No, we can't. You can never fix them, man. Never try to fix them. Mirage Fire Scarabs now applies a drain instead of just instantly proccing. That should be a really good change. This ability is dumb. As a certified Mirage, I don't know if I enjoy her. As a certified playing Mirage for some reason person, because Mirage is realistically pretty boring, but I still play him more than I should for how boring he is. This is probably good. It's crazy how front-loaded they are. So making it a drain to reach that instead should be good. No longer restricts you from hitting this. What? What? No longer restricts you from hitting the same target? Guys, no. Okay, unless maybe maybe this isn't getting worded properly to consider everything that's happening. Beetle is, I believe, a 90 health swap from what I remember. You take 90 health away from them and you give it to yourself. With the way they are wording this, you no longer have the limit of only being able to proc it once per person. So it does drain over 4 instead of being instant now, but hypothetically, you would be able to spam these out, hit all 4, drain 360 max HP, and give it to yourself on a cooldown that you can make like 15 seconds within one wave. No way they did that. We're going to have to test that too. That would be so unbelievably broken. I feel like there is not a possible way that this is actually how it happens. Maybe what's happening is it counts it as a consistent dot that you're not actively stacking. So if you hit one and then wait, and then hit one and then wait, and then hit one, and you keep min-maxing it over time, which is kind of implying here with debuff duration. Wait. Should I just have read farther? Maybe I should have just read farther. I think I read this as duration extender and it made less sense. It's debuff duration. Okay, that's got to be what it is. So now you can min-max Beetle to potentially steal more, which might still be dumb, but at least it gives Mirage more of a skill component on a hero that otherwise was pretty lacking in a lot of those skill components. So I don't know. People probably hate this to some degree now when playing against Mirage because it should overall be a buff. That's potentially going to still be pretty crazy, but it literally should be impossible to get the entire value out of 4 Beetles. If you min-max it insanely hard, I am assuming you can get a little over 2 Beetles worth of value, and even at level 1 steal like 200 health for yourself, which is super dumb. So it's probably going to be OP, and Mirage is going to be even more cringe than he was, but at least there's more skill in it. Launch window increased. Oh. All right. Well, no, you can min-max this pretty hard. You can get around 3 Beetles worth. Yeah, it's going to be dumb. It's going to be really dumb. Traveler now allows you to rotate the camera. That'll be nice. That's his ultimate. T2 change to grants ally Traveler benefits. And if cast on an enemy, it'll give it to the bonus or closest ally hero within 30 meters. That's really cool. So you get stat boosts in Mirage ult. So if you ult to an ally or ult to an enemy and an ally is remotely near that enemy, you give them the same buffs. That's actually really strong. That's interesting. But it has a longer cooldown than it used to, assuming you level it at least. Burrow no longer affected by shoulder charge. Okay, that's kind of crazy. Or spectral wall. Scorn heals you instantly rather than over 1 second. It takes a second? Really? Okay. And it always felt kind of laggy, but I didn't think it was over time. I thought it was just a little bit laggy. So Scorn going to feel better. That's his 1. Paradox Time Wall. These are all subtle changes. We got anything spicy here? I don't think it's too spicy. Increased escape duration by 0.5 seconds. That doesn't seem too crazy. Affliction now immediately deals 18% current HP on application. Massively nerfed its DPS. Nerfed its spirit scaling by a bit. And then I'm assuming... No, okay, also nerfed... I don't know why they... Okay. Yeah, also nerfed the tier 3 DPS. Now increased range by 5 meters and increases initial damage by 5% on Affliction tier 3. Oh, but they nerfed original... Okay, so Pocket got big changes. So Pocket now gets immediate damage value out of Affliction, but loses a lot of the ticking damage, which is good because the ticking damage is so cringe. Like, ticking damage in general is fine, but the degree of ticking damage is so dumb. So we'll have to see how bad this feels for Pocket. I am a little worried. I think this might feel really bad. I think this might be too big of a change, and that honestly, this alone would have been fine, because Pocket Ult was realistically so strong that just trading off this for this actually might not seem insane for Pocket. It might not be like, oh no, Pocket Ult got a crazy buff. This actually might be a decent trade-off right here. So nerfing the radius this much is a massive nerf to Affliction radius, and then making it so you have to max Pocket Ult to get back up there, probably gonna feel pretty bad. What the hell is this? Bro, they are cooking in this patch. Moving on, Stormcloud now grants you a secondary ability. You say what? A secondary ability. It is a one-time use AoE ability. You can target anywhere in your ultimate range. After a 2-second delay, it releases a vertical lightning strike onto a 6-meter area, knocking enemies away. So a 6-meter knockback and dealing 150 damage with 1.5 times spirit scaling. There's a visual indicator for enemies that are in the area. Wait, in the area that is about to be it. I don't know. There's a little bit of a typo here. Should be what it is. Stormcloud DPS gets a little bit of a nerf. Cloud tier 3 now allows you to float around at 2.5 meters a second. Oh my god. So Stormcloud recently got a change where you now kind of shift and hover up and down in the air, which is actually a surprisingly big buff to the ability, because it's actually a decent amount of floating around. So you're actually a moving target, and it makes it like shockingly harder to hit. Like if you're really trying to hit him, you should be able to hit body pretty much well enough. But if you're trying to land something like an Abrams dash, you could get a little bit juked out if you're trying to land. I know Abrams dash is a weird example because you have to be in the air, but like that's something you do on Abrams is try and get in the air and pull people out of the sky. So that's going to get a little bit harder. And then also landing headshots was the big thing that like, it was so easy to land headshots before in 7 ult. And then when they made him hover up and down, it got a lot harder to consistently do it at least. So now not only is he going to be doing the bouncing back and forth up and down, but he can float around at 2.5 meters, which is not a ton, but is something. So he can move the 7 ult a little bit towards you, move that storm cloud, and then he gets an entire just bonus ability. And it is one-time use, but it does look potentially pretty strong and potentially pretty cool. We are going to have to hop into game with some of these changes. Oh my god, man. Yeah, that's a pretty crazy change. Let's see. Anything insane for Vindicta? Doesn't look like it. What about Viscous? Not looking like it. Punch tier 3 now causes the punch to become a heavy melee. That's really cool. Okay. So punch tier 3 is now actually a big deal. You get a big boost to the damage because it's going to be heavy melee damage. So it'll be, not only can you proc melee charge off of it, but you're now going to basically just like it double-ish the damage. I actually don't remember if heavy melee is exactly double or just close to double and how that works. But normally it feels like about double damage. So that's a big buff for tier 3 punch. And that's on top. So you're still getting the cooldown you used to get. So actually leveling Viscous Punch is finally a good thing. It really realistically was not to at least max before. So that's pretty big. Goo Ball getting a nerf to spirit scaling and tier 2 damage. That is probably deserved. Goo Ball is so strong as like a CC and mobility ability. So the fact that it could hit so hard was really, really strong, at least on its own hit so hard without even casting the other abilities. So this is a decently hefty nerf to its ability to do that. Last stand resistance reduced by 30%. That's pretty big. And then gets less fire rate from spirit power. This is for Warden. Last stand now only goes on cooldown for 20 seconds when interrupted rather than full. That should be really nice. I don't know if I'm alone in this. Like I play a decent amount of Warden and I enjoy Warden, but I don't think I'm biased towards Warden. Like I honestly, like Warden's a little bit cringe of a character. I just think he's also kind of fun to play because he's pretty Chad. Like you kind of just run people down. But it's always bugged me that Last Stand goes on full cooldown And while this does make like a massive change, I feel like it just doesn't need to go on cooldown when it's interrupted. Because basically this is like you have the 2-ish second channel time. If you get like stunned or something, it'll break and then it would just eat the cooldown. So now it goes on a 20-second cooldown, which means you're not using it like close to the time that you've been stunned, but you do get it soon enough that you could use it if you're really that much deeper in the fight or just in another fight sometime pretty soon. Like 20 seconds is definitely a very low cooldown. But I feel like it should be fine to make this 0, right? And you just have to cast it again. Because that's like, oh, I was casting this for 2 seconds and then I got interrupted. Okay, now I try and cast it again for 2 seconds. Like you're still getting like, that's a lot of CC value. I feel like that's enough. Because it's not like when you're trying to cast this, you're not getting the last stand or anything. It's not like you're getting any value out of that. So I don't know. I feel like they could just make it 0. I would personally prefer that. Last stand T2 now reduces cooldown by 35 seconds. That's actually really gross. And last stand tier 3 now provides, guys, are we sure about this? Do we really need to make, like, we did Yamato ult recently, right? Again, I think Warden is fun to play, but I also think he's kind of cringe to play against. Do we really need to make Warden ult like Yamato ult after we went through that whole fiasco? Because that's kind of what we're doing right now. He is now capable of getting a little less overall cooldown in the ultimate, but you also can get it faster, which is nice. Like, you get a lot of value out of that second rank of last stand by reducing that cooldown by 35 seconds, because it also already gave damage, and that's just staying in. And then now you can get 50% bullet resist and spirit resist and 2.5 seconds duration. Yeah, that's even pretty good. And then we can stack these with armor. And we can just be an absolute unit that heals for a stupid amount and just magic carpets around the mat. Okay, we're probably not magic carpeting, but like, like this is crazy, man. And then the 2.5 seconds duration, don't worry, superior duration will stack along with that, which you already should have been buying on him. Like, Warden ult is about to become a monster. You're about to actually unironically be building Refresher Warden all the time. He's going to be such a monster, man. And Warden was already really good. That's crazy. I don't know about that. There have been a couple changes in here. There have been some really cool changes. There have been a couple changes where I'm like, guys, come on. We're kind of risking people's mental health here, guys. I don't know. You're going to get a lot of Reddit posts about this one. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. God damn it. I liked this change. Hang on. I got to actually read it. Wraith full auto T2 damage per bullet now has default 0.05 spirit scaling. I don't remember what the number for this before was. It wasn't as high, was it? I think it wasn't as high. So I think it used to be 0.1. And then they took it away and moved it to the tier 3. So it used to just automatically, I think it automatically at every rank had 0.1. And that was part of why Spirit Wraith is so strong, but only part of it. So now they're giving it back to specifically the tier 2 of full auto, which already was an important thing to grab, but at half value. And then at tier 3, you're getting that half value again to get back to the old value of 0.1, I believe. Because recently they'd hit Wraith really hard where they took away this until you get an entire tier 3 of full auto. Tier 3 full auto was not that good. It was a fairly low priority, so it made it really important all of a sudden to put points in that compared to the card, the ult, the 2. Whereas before you just wanted to get the first 2 points in it. And now full auto tier 3 changed from 30% bullet lifesteal to 20% bullet lifesteal and spirit lifesteal. So it'll make Wraith feel more consistent. I don't know. This is probably a good change. Because her tier 2 will be less dumb than it used to be once upon a time. It'll still be less dumb. And then this is just a straight up good change to the tier 3. And then overall, you're getting the recent change of the tier 3 is still happening. So it's probably fine. Cast time on telekinesis reduced. Oh boy, that is bold. Projectile speed increased. Also bold. It was so slow. This actually isn't that crazy of an increase. It's probably just fine. It's probably just going to feel better. Now briefly lists the enemy and then slams them to the ground and leaves the target. What? Oh my god, they are trying to make people... Imagine they drop this on Christmas. This is like coal for Christmas with some of these changes, man. They've got to be doing it 2 weeks before a Christmas update, because otherwise people are just going to be crying. They're going to think Santa hates them. Telekinesis now slams the enemy into the ground and leaves them with 2.5 seconds of silence and disarm. I can't... Is this on top? I don't think it even matters. It's so broke. I can't tell if it does this instead or if it's on top of what telekinesis used to do. Now we have to test this. This seems so dumb. Because this is like, it's not an interrupt. So if it's not on top, if this is a rework and they're just not specifically stating it, at least it's not getting that like interrupt type effect, that almost like kind of curse type effect. But then it lasts way longer with these of silence and disarm, which is basically you do get a move. But also you don't otherwise get to play the game remotely aggressively, right? Like that's super punishing. And the tier 2 increases that duration of silence and disarm. And tier 3 causes the projectile to bounce to another nearby hero within 20 meters. So potentially Wraitholt's AoE is getting nerfed, but then potentially it's easier to pull 2 people than it is 1. Or sorry, 2, wait. What am I trying to say here? Potentially you can pull a second person easier at full rank Wraitholt, but you won't be able to do more than that. Whereas before, hypothetically, if everybody's super stacked, you get like a 4 or 5 man Wraitholt. Yamato Flying Strike tier 3 allows you to grapple to ally heroes. That's really cool. Flying Strike tier 3 really sucks. It's easily her worst tier 3. So that's giving her a little more, not even a little bit more, decent amount more mobility, because you can cancel Flying Strike. You can do some crazy like whiplash tech with Yamato and teammates now, which is probably really cool. Shadow Transform reduced cast time. That's pretty big. No longer has a 0.6 second post cast time. That is very big. Tier 3 now also increases resist by 15%. Okay. So Yamato's finally gotten kind of put back, not really in the dirt, but like she got really insane for a little while and then took a pretty big hit and was feeling a lot less insane. So this is moving her back towards being really good. I don't know. This will just vary game to game. Yamato is one of those characters where she can have games where she feels really bad. She can have games where she feels really good. She's just definitely overall going to be a decent chunk better off of that. But probably not a crazy amount. Nothing compared to the recent reworks. So yeah, we got to get in game, man. This patch notes went so much longer than I thought it would. I'd seen a couple spicy changes and I was like, this is definitely worth talking about. No, we got to hop in game. Hold up. All right, let's get in here. Grey Talon 3. This one should not be too crazy to be trying out, but I figured we'd do a little look-see. So it pops. Get Curse Bozo. That's the curse effect. Curse is over. We can max it. We can get no cooldown, and then we can do a little. That didn't work. Hang on. Do I actually have to? Do I actually have to the middle? Hang on. I want to try it again just to make sure. Okay. So we should actually have to the middle. I thought we could just hit the entire AoE. This makes it a lot more precise. So we can do a little. For some reason, they're rooted. Bro, what? Oh, am I being dumb? Do I need this maxed? No, I don't think it's working. Hang on.
They can't run forever.
What is this? What? I actually don't understand what's happening here. Hang on.
I'll fire from above.
I'm pretty sure that time we popped it early, but I actually can't tell.
If I stay on the ground, I'm dead. They're in my sights.
There we go. Okay, I think it's being really funky with ground hitboxes. I'm pretty sure, unless I'm being really dumb, it wasn't proccing on these, right? Yeah. Okay, that's potentially problematic. Maybe we're getting a little bit of shenanigans with maybe this map, the little, I don't remember what it's called, the little offline practice map, has something weird with hitboxes. But yeah, if this is something where you're literally hitting it and it's not working consistently, that's super problematic, right? So other than that, it's just kind of a curse and it's no big surprise. Let me try this. Yeah, so you do have to hit the center. So that's that. I think Inferus is next. Trying to remember everybody that got spicy changes. So Infernus's change was he gets ability charges at max rank. I guess we can level this as well since this also has charges. So on its own, we just have one charge, and then we have a 20-second cooldown, which would have been similar to before, and we have a dash time that's going to look something like this. There's a little Infernus dash, and we can also just go ahead and do one for like full distance. So we're moving this fast, going this far. And then, okay, we still got our no cooldown. So then if we go a little this, and let me take off the no cooldown.
Try to keep up.
Normally we'd have that 20-second cooldown. Wait, what? Wait. Oh, I was forgetting we have rapid recharge cooldown as well. It's not showing me the charge time. I thought in my head the charge time. Huh. Okay. Oh, because that's right, because it's giving us the time includes in the dash. That's what it is. So it's not that it's a 3-second cooldown. It is literally like I was saying when I read this, and I just kind of forgot about that because I'm smite brained. Yeah. So we're getting this down to like a 6-ish second cooldown. And by the time we finish one dash, it's only gonna be 3 seconds. And then like I specifically said, what if we throw a little superior cooldown on this bad boy? And we do this. Oh, boo! Okay. That doesn't matter for charge time, huh? You'd think I would know better. I guess we really haven't been playing charge characters lately, so I wasn't thinking that through all the way. Okay. So that's not as abusable as I was thinking. That's just making it easier to get these off more often in general, but not per charge. But still, this is a really big, making rapid recharge a thing on him. Like, we can now do this. And then hypothetically, we could do, I just broke the game. Hypothetically, we could really spam it. Normally, you don't really want to spam the one. Okay, I think that's actually just coincidental lag. I don't think it's gonna happen consistently. Like, there's we don't have cooldown popped right now. That's a lot of spamming. So yeah, that's Infernus. Let me take a little peek. Who's next? We can try Kelvin Dome real quick. That one's super simple, but I'm pretty sure they literally just changed the cast mode. Okay, it also didn't work, which is funny. So it says on key up, it creates frozen shelter. This is I'm key upping. Key down. Hang on. Key down. Key up. Key down, key up. So that's funny. And it's saying click and everything. That's making it confirm cast. That's kind of funky. Maybe I changed that on my own though. Maybe I had already changed its cast mode. We can kind of try Giest. I don't think this one particularly needs to be shown as much, but we can kind of use, these guys will die really fast, by the way. So let's do, that's right. We also, I forgot that we already get a charge just by maxing it as well. So rapid recharge actually makes it 4. So we can do, oh my. And then if we look at Giest 2, this lasts 4.5 seconds with 0.6 spirit scaling. So we would be getting 2.4 over the 4 seconds and then 2.7 total spirit scaling per person, as well as that damage. So right now that damage, I guess we have this. So let's sell this off. So we're getting 55 damage a second. So that's going to be 220, like 240-ish damage base. And then spirit scaling over the top. So potentially we are able, if we're getting a big spirit build on Giest, if we're getting like 200 spirit power, we can be doing 600-700 damage per siphon, healing the full value. Hang on, let me no cooldown this and get rapid recharge back. So we can hypothetically be scaling up to get 600-700 healing per siphon, ignoring even actual lifesteal items, just the abilities themselves. And then if we hit like an entire team with one of these, we will heal like 3k, assuming we're not anti-healed. And then distribute 3k, but amongst them, not per person. That is really, really crazy. And then if we want to hit the same person, it's not going to let me do it yet. But now Siphon is over, and we can do it again. So let me take the no cooldown off, because this is also a big thing just for 1v1s, but it's going to take a lot of points to get to that. So like we're fighting, we're doing the normal Giest thing. So this is going to last a while, so this would be more for a tank build realistically if we're in a 1v1, but like we can already do it again. That is absolutely disgusting value. That makes Giest terrifying in her too, because if you were getting like long duration fights, her lifesteal, assuming you build her like, yeah, this is just my normal build. We're getting Soul Shredder Bullet, Spirit Lifesteal, Enduring, Leech, all these different items. She is going to be an absolute monster, man. Healing Booster gets that much more important. Healing Boosters in the build. That is so crazy for Giest. All right, we can swap over to Lash and check out the ult change. So let me see if I ult people. Okay, these feel the same. So it's got to be the total, like I thought. This got to be the total ult time, not the time to actually pull them up. But then if we do, let's see, let's do it again. I think the sound effects got juicier. I'm feeling a little, I'm all thinking about Fire Force because they finally released. Fire Force isn't that much of a banger. I'm not particularly endorsing it. They released a trailer for season 3. Feeling all base boosted like Fire Force right now. So if we max this, let's go ahead. Let's probably do just this for now. There we go. We pull one and we can see that he's stunned, right? So we can see that he's stunned. Now, let's pull one. Yeet. We did. We stunned them. That's so sick. Okay, yeah. So like I thought, it is an AoE impact. Let me read this. Is it going to show it? Sends enemies in the landing area zone. I don't remember. I'm assuming Reach will expand this. Okay, so that whole area will get stunned. That whole circle that it showed will get stunned. And then if we look at Reach, it increases the impact radius, so it increases the stun area. And then, of course, if we get duration, which I really doubt you would want duration, hypothetically with duration, you can increase the stun now. Duration does literally nothing else other than ult stuff for Lash. So, like, I really don't think this would be worth, but that's also something that, like, now exists for him. So that's really cool. Lash ult is feeling a lot spicier now. Ooh, one thing we can do, I just want to see this for the effect. We're already doing so many things. If you guys are watching at this point, you've already watched so much video, like, you can keep going, right? Surely your patience isn't wearing thin at this point, right? We're 5-0! I'm fragging. I'm just gonna go yeet a turret under tower, and we're gonna see what the turret looks like when it dies with the new effects. No, stop shooting me. Not very obvious from this angle. I kind of died here. We're dying to minions because I haven't like leveled. Hang on. Wait, this. Well, that kind of helped. I don't know. We'll throw a 2 down. Do I need some healing? Yeah, like towards the end there. Oh, is its DPS so cheeks that the turret's like actually not dying? Turret health 450. That might be what it is. Okay. That might be why it's looking weird. I don't think I have a great way to test this right now. I could mess with some mimic shenanigans, but that seems like too much work. That's not that big of a deal. So let's move over to Pocket. Trying to remember, Burrow wasn't a crazy change, right? Yeah, Burrow wasn't a crazy change. So let's move over to Pocket. Pocket ult. We do one of these. Look at how tiny that AoE is now. And we still have the channel to it. And then if we wait this out hypothetically, how much are we dishing? I know, it's so slow. Oh my God, my zoomer patience. So overtime with no ranks, no items, we are dealing 324 with Pocket ult. And 57 of that is up front right now, at least on these guys. That the current health is how it's based on that. So like, you know, this is like level 1 bot Infernus. This current health is like as low as it could possibly be. In terms of early damage, realistically, you'd normally be dealing minimum 100 by the time you're getting a Pocket ult. Because they shouldn't have spirit armor yet. And they should have like at least 600 health. So you should have more upfront damage, but you'll have a lot lower dot damage. But from what I remember, the dot scaling is still really good. So you're getting less flat, consistent damage. Now building heavier into spirit power on Pocket is going to make that overtime affliction stand out more. But when you're doing that deep in the game, overtime affliction is less valuable compared to early game affliction, because early game affliction, you're sending them back to base. Late game affliction, it's not as big of a deal to go back to base because it's team fight stage, not farming stage. So I think in terms of just prioritizing the way the ability should work, this is a great shift. And the big thing is the exact thing that I was seeing when we got in here, which is how bad is it going to feel now to have that little baby ult range on Pocket? But it really might be for the better. I don't know why I'm killing this one, but like, fuck him. Let's be real. He's got 3 charges on dash now. Bozo can sit down. Sick of his shit. But then if we do upgrade into the full, then we're doing this. That's the good old Pocket range. Pretty sure it's the same as before. It's pretty juicy. Yeah, this is probably a good change for Pocket. All right, one of the biggest ones to check out here. We have got 7. I believe this is at any rank. We are going to have this lightning bolt strike. So let's just try. I forgot I yeeted you over here. Let's do a little ult. And I don't think it's auto casting here. We click. Oh, okay. We click. So there's a big delay to it, which you did say there would be. There's a big delay to this lightning strike. It's pretty easy to tell when I'm casting it and then when it actually lands down. So this should be very easy to get out of. And I believe it was indicating in the patch notes that like enemies would have a way to tell where this is coming. Like they should be able to see this circle if they're paying enough attention. But it's probably pretty distracting to pay attention to that in a lot of circumstances with 7 ult. So 7 ult getting a lot better. It's already been getting some changes recently. Did I kill you? Are you about to respawn? Wait, bro, where are you? Oh, he's in the corner here. Yeah, I was confused because like you shouldn't really normally be able to kill this guy. So yeah, I think it's really spicy for 7 ult. We'll have to see how good it actually feels because a lot of times this isn't going to feel that practical. But let's check out the final ult change. We don't even have to jump for this one. Very slow hover time. This is me moving around. Go yeet one of these at somebody. But we can reposition a little bit. You know, we started over there, we got over here, but we got over there over the course of 14 entire seconds. So very slow, but it exists. It's probably just going to generally feel like nicer, but it's not going to be insane or anything. Other things to try. Don't think we need to bother with Warden. Warden's really just kind of general insane buffs, not like a rework. Oh yeah. Wraith is a big one. I'm scared. Lifting. Oh boy. I'm scared. Lifts them into the air, stunning them, then slams them into the ground, then they're silenced, and they're disarmed. Get fucked, bozo. 70-second cooldown, does 175 damage. Make it 3.25 seconds.
And up they go.
Yeah. So the vibe I'm getting is it's probably less overall CC, because I believe this is mostly just like, I think in terms of actual CC duration, this is not Old Wraith ult. It looks similar in the beginning to Old Wraith ult, but I don't think it's actually the same timing. It feels slower. Or sorry, it feels faster, right? Like, can I count? it feels like maybe a little less than 1 second total from when they get lifted to when they crash down. Maybe tops is 1 second, and then you're not able to up it past that, which you used to be able to up it. But they are also silenced and disarmed for 3.25 seconds afterwards, so it's like a run for your life situation, or a punch for your life situation, or like a buy debuff remover, and then be mad that you had to buy debuff remover type situation, or something like that. So it's going to feel more and more important to buy like Ethereal Shift and debuff remover against Wraith. It's going to be harder to fight back, but you're not CC'd and just like in the just sitting there questioning your existence type state. But then you're in the, oh my God, why is it still going state afterwards? If you're actually in a spot where you like have to trade her and you can't like tuck away, which is going to happen pretty often. So I think this is going to overall feel atrocious. And if they drastically nerf the silence and disarm, or they do something else with the silence and disarm, other than that, this should feel cooler. Because cinematically, it looks like a better Wraith ult. Thematically, this is way cooler Wraith ult for the actual slam part. It's just straight up cooler. I don't think you can argue. That's cool. Telekinesis is fucking cool. But like, you know, the slam telekinesis compared to, oh, I'm making you float. Oh no. But then the silence disarm. Oh my God, that's so cringe. And we can try this out as well. This will be really quick, I think, versus these guys. Yeah. But let's try a little, let's see. Let's put somebody, where's a good spot for it? 30 meters. We're about to do something silly. Wait, what? Hey! Shit. I gotta relog. Or not relog, I gotta reopen this. Boom, boom, boom. All right, 30 meters. Yeah, there's probably a different way to do it, but I always just like, it's so quick to just get in and out. There we go. It's maxed. It's gonna bounce, I think. Oh wait, is this not 30 meters? Hang on. Hang on, we can put one over here. Maybe I'm misremembering. I guess I have this up. Oh, 20 meters. Okay, my bad. So this range. So let's spawn enemy right here. Boom. Yeah, so if you're that far from a Wraith ult, you can eat it, which is quite a bit, but it will only be the one person. So that one compared to before, I think feeling somewhat similar overall, but then we also have to include the new silence and disarm, and that makes it probably stronger than before by a decent chunk. Because now it's going to be harder to follow up in the CC aspect compared to before, where it's like, oh, you're all just floating there, and I can just do what I wish with you, even though she's fairly single target, so a lot of the time that's not entirely true. But now it's, oh, that nearby person that would help you out, don't worry, they're silenced and disarmed for 3.25 seconds, and you already know. I've been playing too much Smite, man. I just hit I for inventory. Oh no. I'm getting Smite brained. Wait, why didn't I, am I poor? Hey! Okay, just didn't work. Okay, I don't know what that was. Yeah, so duration will now make that 4.3, by the way. Wait, does the stun not get changed? Oh, that's weird. Okay, that's actually a little bit cool. So the stun just kind of does what it does. Actually, is it cool? I don't know. I don't know if I care. This ult's so dumb that I can't, like, complain if the stun doesn't last longer. But look at that. That long until he got to play the game. That is crazy. All right, whoops, I forgot about Viscous. This is, I literally stopped recording just now, so I'm gonna have to like insert this towards the end of the video, but not quite at the end of the video. I totally forgot about Viscous. Yeah, the puddle punch change for his damage gonna be a big deal. So we have, fuck, reset. I had to do 2 ranks here. Here is, I mean, I guess we can do one of these. Like here's normal puddle punch, 69 damage, nice. You know they did that on purpose, those fucking children. 104 damage from the tier 2 rank. Give me no cooldown. So 104 damage is already pretty hefty, and a lot of time if you're really looking for early game, you could bother with it. Otherwise, it didn't tend to feel worth. You just went for the 1 charge. And now we get that heavy melee damage. Okay, 151. But, of course, I would assume that melee charge should proc on this. What? 163? Why? Wait, hang on. So if we melee charge, let me take the cooldown off. 128. Wait, is it not proccing? Wait, guys, I think it broke melee charge. Wait, hang on. Hang on, what is happening? Is it not working on the bot? Okay, I big lagged. What is this? Hang on.
We're looking for something of a stay strong, buddy.
What?
Well done, Viscous.
attacking strangers with
Yeah, so passive. Your next heavy melee attack against an enemy deals increased damage and either reload your weapon instantly or gives you 100% bonus full ammo. Passive 16-second cooldown. Melee charge as usual, right? Psych! It just keeps not proccing. So if we sell it, we do a little bit less because we're just missing weapon damage. But if we buy like high velocity, yeah, we hit like the same. So yeah, I don't know. It's broken. I'll try and let him know. Yeah, unfortunately, not getting to test it as well as we otherwise would. But even without melee charge, we are still seeing. Wait, does it bounce them higher? Even without melee charge, we are seeing like a 50% damage amp from that final rank, which is still like pretty noticeable, pretty big deal, and will help a lot with weapon scaling. Now I gotta see if we reset. Okay, I'm just breaking things. Hang on. Back in. Maybe heavy melee is not broken, and I did something to break it. Boing. Let me get this. Boing. And then a boing. No, it's the same. Okay. And if we try this again. Okay, there we go. I don't know what I did to bug it, but I had done something to bug it. And I think it's still not proccing on this. Okay, it's the 3 that's breaking it. Yeah, okay. So the 3 is like kind of counting melee charge somehow. It doesn't look to me like it's adding the damage to it, I don't think. But it's then breaking the cooldown going forward even on regular melees, not only itself. So that's definitely just a bug, I would assume. You know, this game's all about functionality to make like items that you like, oh, would this work since it's a heavy melee? You're goddamn right it'll work. So yeah, I'm assuming that'll get fixed quick. And then final last little thing that we can check out is Yamato 2, which is probably just doing this. Wait, it's been too long, man. It's been too long. Which is probably, what? Okay, hang on. They might have changed stuff. There we go. I don't know if I'm tripping. I think they might have changed, nice that it does prioritize enemies as it should. I think they might have changed timing a little bit with the cancel. Yeah, wait, what? Am I getting stuck on stuff? Hang on. Oh, okay. So that's, that's why I thought it was like they'd changed Yamato too, or literally, I'm not canceling this. It's just stopping me all the way back here. But like, of course, if we're hitting an enemy, we're gonna go up and punch them because that's what the ability does. So it basically casts differently on an ally than it does an enemy, where it looks like around the time where you channel into that punch and you do like a big channeled lock-on punch there, instead it just stops and you just get pretty close to him. So if I yeet this shit from downtown and in the air, we're still here. So, so we don't actually reach all the way, and that makes it not potentially as strong as it otherwise would be. And then if we cancel it early, we can still do some of this, but it's probably not going to be as silly. And then I don't think there's any way I can test this without literally an extra person to like do something aerial where we'd really properly slingshot. But hypothetically, if somebody's like in the air, we got like a Kelvin up there, boom, 2 to him, launch ourselves, cancel it early, go slide around the entire map. Like we can probably do some silly slingshot stuff in certain circumstances, like a Vindicta, Grey Talon, Kelvin, and people can do that on purpose with your team. That might be really cool. We'll have to see. That's for Necros. I'm assuming I think Marvel Rivals just came out or something in NA, so he's probably distracted. That's for a proper Yamato main. Maybe Fred will get on that. Is it Fred the Finch, I think is his name? We need some Yamato main to get on that, get some slingshot tech going. But that will do it for the video and for the patch notes. Apparently my dad read these patch notes. Not really. Somebody's like Deadlock forum account, his name's Dad. Is showing at the bottom of the patch notes. I just realized it's funny. Dad liked this. Nice. I'm glad Dad approves of these patch notes. I guess Dad must be a Vindicta hater, huh? That's pretty based. Lash enjoyer, Vindicta hater. Ooh, that's another good Steam name. I'm gonna be switching this shit out so often. I just keep coming up with banger after banger. But thank you guys for watching. I know this is a very long patch notes. I don't think they will normally be this long. Part of the length is definitely getting in the game. I think we've spent around 20 minutes in game. Maybe I'm misremembering when I hopped over. So I know this is a very long patch notes. I don't think they will normally be this long, but there were a lot of rework type changes that had a lot more of a focal point for me than we normally get. I think a normal patch, even though a normal big patch, a normal 2-week patch, probably going to stay closer to 30 minutes. This one had a lot of what? They did what type moments, and they just kept coming. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you enjoyed patch notes and if you want to see them going forward. Again, I'm not planning on doing these for the smaller updates where we occasionally get once every few days, once every week. We'll get kind of a small balance change that they do. It's really, really minute, not a big deal, generally speaking at least. But for the 2 weeks, I'll probably do it, and just let me know if you want to keep seeing this going forward. Most of it I will probably be basing off of viewership rather than comments, but of course comments are also a good way to encourage me if you want to see more of this. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one.